You've eaten Gotham's wealth, its spirit, but your feast is nearly over.
This is not my home. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon. Why aren't you laughing?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
Welcome to the Batman Book Club, a podcast exploring the Dark Knight Library. I'm your host, Ryan Lauer. Batman Book Club is a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network, hosted by Batman on Film. Just go to batmanonfilm.com, click on podcasts, and you'll find the Batman Podcast Network. That is a whole list of other Bat-related shows that also love to dive into other nerdy subjects that we all, especially the Italian Peter Arvera, love to frolic about in our free time. He's the biggest frolicker. Make sure to let him know that you know. The Batman Book Club is also on Patreon. If you like what's going on with the show and you want to help support the show, keep the generators running in the Wayne Manor study, just go to patreon.com/thebatmanbc. And a big shout out to two new patrons, Alex Light and Gregory Lozitano. Thank you for the support for the show. Much appreciated. Now, thank you for listening to episode 150, Favorite Batman Artists. Much like I think, try to do something a little different for each 50 little milestone every 50th episode. And so 100 episodes ago, I had some Bat Bros on and we did some favorite Batman stories conversation. Well, I've got some Bat Bros returning this time around to discuss our favorite Batman artists. It's been all the buzz the past couple weeks. A lot of great discussion on the Twitter about favorite Batman artists. And so, yeah, this is our main event. So joining me in one corner is way out west. He's running the streets. He's the artist formerly known as J Rocka. It's one Sir Justin Kowalski. Justin, thanks for coming back to the Batman Book Club.
I always love being here at the Batman Book Club. It's a very exclusive club.
Yes. You have one of the
Batman
seats. It's just like in Shazam, they all have their own thrones from, I think, a deleted scene or something. And the Bat Boys all have a seat. And we have a third guy here. He represents the Midwest, much like myself, except he's a lot smarter than I am. And he roots on the Twins.
Go
take
Twins.
Take that, Pete. Go Twins. It's Garret Grev. Hello, Garret.
Hey, welcome to be back.
Hey.
My throne's kind of cold. I haven't sat in it a while. So it's nice it's still very comfortable. And I appreciate you keeping it here for me. For so many reasons. I'm glad that Peter isn't here as much as I love him. There'd be all sorts of lies about my dietary habits. And back in the early days, you said 100 episodes ago for the greatest Batman stories. Back in those days, Peter and I were kind of neck and neck with appearances, and he's just so far out in front of me. It's nice to show up on a show where Peter isn't here. So it's like, it might be a small slice forward, but I'm inching.
You're on a milestone episode. So you've been on 2 milestone episodes and he's only been on 1. So
I feel like those count for extra.
And I will also say, I don't feel like the monthly recaps count, by the way.
Ooh.
It has to be an actual, here's a story that I've read that's, special. And
let's dig into it.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So these monthly recaps do not count as far
separate
as
column in the spreadsheet.
That's a whole separate thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Separate
I'm on board with that too.
Yeah.
We've decided for you, Ryan.
It's like when a family member shows up for a holiday that, oh man, they made it. But like they just come over on Tuesday, that doesn't count. That's not special. That's just Tuesday. So anyway.
That's it. The next make sure you go to the Batman Book Club's Twitter, where the next poll question is, do the wrap-up episodes count
as official appearances?
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
Then we'll discuss the results with Peter, and we'll have Pete defend himself and if it counts. But
I put to work. I read all these books. All these other guys they're not really fans.
They're putting in the work.
I read all the books.
I thought you said Peter wasn't here.
Yeah, I know. Right? I just heard.
He's back. Perfect. Yeah.
I don't keep Batmobile. 1-seater. It's okay.
I think it's only fair that we all do our own Peter impressions, because he does really terrible impressions of us on his show.
So bad.
So
And they're
so bad.
They're like factually not representing anything about you.
I heard mine and I'm like, when did I become like a little old Norwegian grandmother? You know, like, oh hey, yeah, sure is nice. I'm like, that's not what I sound like. I don't talk like that. That's fine. That's
why
okay.
do you wear wooden shoes?
Yeah.
I hope he listens to this.
Oh,
that's another slap in the face. He doesn't listen to the Batman Book Club, so he's been outed. Now, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, and very well may be, but is this the first time that I have podcasted with both of you at the same time?
I feel like there's got to be an episode of the BOF show or something.
I don't know. We've tried, but I mean, schedules are tricky. But
maybe a live.
I don't know.
Stream?
All three of us on the
maybe
same
we
thing.
Did live. I think so. I mean, I've been on live shows with you guys before.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but maybe Lauer wasn't. It's a mystery.
I'm just saying.
Listeners, let us know when this is posted.
Find out.
There's a lot of milestones here in this conversation. So,
oh my gosh,
this one's going to be huge. It's going to get some numbers.
It's like three families have got together.
Got together. Three families. So, greatest Batman artist. Many people chimed in. Many people have been talking this. It's because greatest, it has many definitions. It's up to each person on what they define as the greatest. This started, I knew last year. So the yearly bracket challenge, the annual bracket challenge, comes around March Madness time, and last year did greatest Batman writer, in which I just knew, okay, then that means next year is going to be greatest Batman artist. Much thanks to everybody who participated, because this was, I've really appreciated the turnouts and participation the previous 2 years, but this year blew those out of the water. So many people had opinions. Some people were angry. Some people were very happy and had fun. All of this obviously is always just to have fun, because we're just talking about Batman comic books and people who draw them. But yeah, a lot of opinions and a lot of people voted in each one. So you two participated. You two sent me brackets. One of you did a lot better than the other one, but that's not what we're talking about, in those brackets. But overall, do either of you have, some thoughts on the outcome? Maybe a couple of surprises offhand, if you want me to refresh on some of those that I think I can go first.
I'm gonna pull up the bracket stuff.
Yeah, I've got mine up.
You've got yours up.
Yeah, Laura, there were certainly some surprises. I think the second round, where I was like, "Oh man, I didn't see this happening." And there's a couple, Cinderella stories to steal the March Bat Madness.
Yes,
nomenclature. I think the way it ended up.
Mm-hmm.
I was fully on board with. Your grand champion is who I had as my grand champion, of course. But how I got there is very different than how the voting got there. And I know Justin took a different approach.
I don't even know where I sent it. Did I email you or did I text it to you?
You texted it to me.
I know I texted. I just went back into my photos because I just wrote on top of the screenshot. But I feel like Justin from conversation went with his heart.
He went with his heart.
Yeah,
I did. I always go with my heart.
And I appreciate that. There's a few people that turned it in, and they even told me too. They were like, listen, I probably am not going to win, but I went with my heart. And I said, hey, good for you. Because I think some of us, Garrett, I'm sure you in the past with March Madness, you've done multiple brackets, and one of them is a passion bracket.
Right. 100%.
Like, this is my team. I have to choose them going all the way, even though it's probably unlikely.
I went with this. I went to win. Let's go with what I think the popular opinion was going to be. A couple of them where they were close. That's where I just kind of leaned a little bit to my personal preference. But I tried to outthink the bracket. What are the voters going to do?
To your credit, too, you were in the running up to the very end.
Also, the voters are awful, man. I just don't trust people to vote, man. They make really dumb decisions. They don't make anything informed.
The one thing that I wish you could do with polls is add pictures. So I would have loved to be able to do, because that does limit in some polls too, of just being like, if some people maybe aren't aware, they're aware of the cover, just not aware of the artist. And I would love it if we could be like, this cover is a great representation of this person's art.
This cover that you're
this person,
certainly
blah, blah,
familiar
blah.
with is this person. Like even like think about all those Kelly Jones covers, through Nightfall. Like that's his cover. You might be thinking of the interior art. It can be confusing, right? It's not always the same artist that's doing interiors and exteriors.
Not that I'm complaining with the results or anything like that, because hey, I have no dog in this fight. I'm just here to get the
results. Hungry.
Yeah. So I think your round 2 that you were talking about, and speaking from the one who collected the brackets,
man,
we love David Mazzucchelli, right?
Right.
Kelly.
I love him.
David M. Batman Book Club rules. David M. Love him. He illustrated one of my favorite stories of all time, Year One. He was up against Jim Lee. I felt like it was a good run, David, but it's Jim Lee. People love Jim Lee. And somehow, some way, David M pulled out ahead of that one. And so many brackets, just some had him going all the way to the final matchup and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy. I don't think anybody could have called that one.
Well,
that story. They love the story, and they associate the story with the art. And it's sometimes it is like, oh man, like he has the greatest Batman art of all time, but man, that story's kind of jank. It's like it's so interesting because it is user preference.
Exactly.
There's no science to it. It's like Jim Lee did Hush, and I like Hush, but Batman Year One's a better story than Hush for me. Like,
well, it's more iconic, right? Like it's done more for the character. And I think that's hard to peel apart. And I didn't really try to. Right. I wasn't trying to be like super objective just on the art. So I was thinking like, what are the big defining stories and then the art attached to it? Because it's pretty rare that you have like, hey man, this story was like definitive for its time. It was groundbreaking. It's one of the most memorable Batman stories, but the art stunk. Like that almost never happens. The art's at least like good to
for
very
a comic
good.
book medium. I just think art is just so important for comics.
Like there's so I'm going to name an artist who's not on this list. Who's a great Batman artist, but I feel like their stories have just been like, is Jorge Jimenez, right?
Right.
He's incredible. He's like the newest Batman artist, and maybe next time you do like this, he'll be on the list, right? But I'm just like, as much as I love his art, there's not a story where I'm like, oh man, I love this story. I love his art. There's no perfect storm for me, and so it'd be really hard for me to pick.
Yeah. Jimenez is always the artist that I feel like has the most heavy lifting to do. Like his art is so good, and he has not been teamed up with a writer who has had a story for him to draw the art to. That's like, oh man, this is going to be on everybody's bat shelf in 5 years, 10 years. This is going to be one IGN includes in their top 10 greatest Batman stories ever told. Like he just hasn't had that opportunity. Now, is the art fantastic? Yeah, it sure is. But I wouldn't have put him on this list either.
Yeah. No, I think his Super Son stuff's been like it's more enjoyable only because I like the story that Tomasi was doing, and even the Justice League stuff he got to do. But as far as Batman, he's not going to hit that list.
Yep. Not yet.
Who knows?
Jimenez.
I believe in you. Stay with it.
Right.
Justin, do you have any surprises outside of like the David M and Jim Lee as you were following along with the bracket at all, or?
There's some stuff like I think you get like people upset about Bob Kane, whatever. You got a lot of that stuff going on.
Well, it's revisionist history, right? Like, I mean, and it's really hard to peel apart Bob Kane. Like, what is Bob Kane? What is not Bob Kane? What did Bob Kane take credit for? Or what did he not? Was he a nice guy? Like, this wasn't about like
image. That's all we're talking.
Yeah,
the image.
And but there is like ghost. There's like ghost artists like Bob Kane signed his name.
That's what I mean. It's hard to peel that apart.
The ones I think of like the Frank Miller versus Jock stuff. Like Jock, I prefer his Batman to Frank Miller's Batman. Like the only Frank Miller Batman I like is in The Dark Knight Returns because it fits that story. But like there's a lot of stuff he's done. I'm like, not a big fan. Like that's not my
personal opinion with that is Frank Miller got along by name more so than the art, because I don't think his art's great. Dark Knight Returns I think is definitely a highlight and stuff. So
it's super stylized, right? And a huge story. But if you're gonna look at the art on its own, I don't know that you'd be like, look at this beautiful art.
if it was dark, if Frank Miller had like a longer run on Batman and it was more akin to like Sin City style, I'd be like, oh yeah, man, that was great.
Yeah,
But, like,
that's crazy because like Sin City, I love the Sin City
Yeah.
books. I love his art in
Yeah.
Sin City and stuff.
it's
So.
incredible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The one that
wild.
hurt me was the matchup when it went along with Norm Brayfogle versus Tim Sale.
Oh man,
It's a tough one.
That one was hard. You had Neil Adams and Lee Bermejo. That one was hard. I was surprised Jason Fabok went as far as he did. I mean,
Me
I'm
too.
a massive fan of Fabok.
yeah,
think
I love that.
fantastic. Surprised he went as far. And then, yeah, as you guys kind of said too, it's like, but the final matchup, ended up being Aparo and Neil Adams. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody could really argue with that.
Right.
Yeah.
They'd be mad Lee didn't go as far as you wanted him to, which I get it. But also like Aparo and Adams is like, well, can you be mad though?
Yeah, Lauer, the one that I was like, ugh, I kind of hate you for this. There was a few of those, but it was tough. It was tough for me to see Kelly Jones not progress at all, just because I've got soft spot in my heart for Kelly Jones, super stylized.
Yeah, that made me mad.
Yep. And that kind of speaks to the time period, right? Like,
but I actually thought I'm surprised because I like Matt Wagner, but I thought
I thought Jones would
like,
top him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, but there, there is a sect of fandom that's like, oh, they don't like Kelly Jones, they don't like the ears and all that stuff. And I'm like,
okay,
yeah, and we'll get into that later.
Justin and I may have been talking about Kelly Jones stuff the past 3 Halloween months. No big deal.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know if you know.
Maybe talked to Kelly Jones once myself too. No big deal.
On the Batman Book Club.
On the Batman Book Club. So yeah, great turnout. So again, everybody who participated, really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun posting the polls, as it kind of always is. But yeah, with more people participating, it just makes it even more fun with the polls, because there were a couple that were really close up to the very end, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then congrats to Nico Caruso. He edged it out.
Are you serious? That guy sucks.
Yeah.
Were you gonna say that guy sucks?
I said it. Nico, that guy sucks.
That guy sucks.
I'm just
so congrats, Nico. But yeah, I mean, he edged it out because, like I said, I mean, Garret was in the running too. That was like four people in points who were really close. So, yeah, it's a lot more fun that way, as opposed to 3 rounds prior of like, okay, this person
way out in front.
How soon did I get out? Like, was I like round? I was first. I was the first guy to get out.
You weren't in the running.
We'll say that I did a post after like the first round of the standings, and I almost didn't post that because I didn't want to embarrass. I'm not trying to shame anybody for being at the bottom of the list.
Shame away.
Yeah, let people
Justin
know.
Was one in consideration of like he's towards the bottom here. But hey, you went with your heart.
I did, man.
That's all I ask,
Dustin Wynn over Lee Bermejo.
That's right, yeah.
Brian Bolland
I love
over Neil Adams too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, wow.
There's more Brian Bolland Batman that I like over Neil Adams. Neil Adams is great. He's great.
He is.
But Brian Bolland, man.
Somewhere Pete just got like angry.
Yeah,
he's like, Kowalski.
Brian Bolland, his Joker, way better than Neil Adams' Joker. Now what?
Okay. That's bold.
Now what?
Whoa. Guessing this isn't the last time we're going to talk about Neil today, so I'll reserve my comments.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, maybe. Well, then let's get to talking.
Right.
Then let's get to talking about our favorite Batman artists.
Oh.
So these gentlemen, I sent them on a mission to compile, like, wasn't gonna do a top 10 because we were not gonna go for a 4-hour podcast here. And I just said, and it's tougher too, I think, because, and I'll tell you when it gets to my number 3 selection, it's tough to narrow it down to 3. I think you could go like, ooh, this is my number 1 and this is my number 2. But I want to say this. So I thought 3 was a great number, and I sent it out to the Bat Boys. So I have a list from Peter Arvera. I have a list from the Mario brother Haas, who is in Mushroom Kingdom, and he couldn't make it today. He sent me a list of his 3, and then us 3 have our list. So we're gonna go around to name our number 3, and then go around for 2 and 1. So just like real quick, what did you guys consider? Like, what did you have in mind as far as to your criteria, I guess, to narrow it down to 3?
My top 3 came together pretty easily, but the things I thought about was like
No,
my
Siri.
3.
Sorry, she wanted to answer.
Yeah, thanks, Siri. My top 3 came together pretty easily. I was just like, yep. But what I realized when I was thinking about this overall, and this has to do with the bracket too, like the art had to be great. It had to be unique enough to the artist where it didn't. I love DC house style art, like the images you see on t-shirts and lunchboxes. That's like, I love that. But I wanted to go with something different that was more unique to the artist. When you saw it, you knew exactly who they were. Doing something a little bit different. And then like longevity, I think for the best artists, it can't be somebody that showed up and like killed a 4-issue run or a mini series and then just didn't do a lot with the character. So like how long were they actively working on the character as well? Those were probably the 3 things that, like, as I filtered through, were top of mind for me.
Good point. How about you, Justin?
Yeah, I always try to pick off the beaten path type of things. That's just how I go. But my picks aren't. I don't think my picks are like gonna surprise anybody. But I did
break
want
the
to think
internet.
of But I was thinking about, like, when we do these things, especially when there's a group of people, no one's going to be missed. But I wanted to make sure I hit like somebody I thought was has a good chance at being a future like all-star. Like, this person, I like what they do. They've done some good stuff on the character already, and I think that they're going to in the long run, maybe 10 years, like, oh man, like, who knows what else they're going to work on, right? But I love what they did. So I was thinking of that, and then I was just thinking of iterations that have really stuck, kind of what you were saying, Garrett, like, oh man, when you see that, like, either it takes you to a certain place, or it's evocative of this run and even the stories being told, and it elicits a reaction, good or bad, and then finally just what's legendary in my heart. So mine are all really dictated
feelings.
by feelings.
It's a big feeler. It's great knowing, like,
feeling.
When you get a group of guys and people that you record with or talk to regularly, it's nice because you can kind of decide what you're going to do based on what someone else is going to show up with, or like the approach. Because I was looking at this, I'm like, you know what? I bet Lauer and I have the same top 3. However, I know Justin's going to be on there, and they might be in different order, Ryan. But I know Justin's going to be on there. I know Justin's going to feel like way out of left field compared to those 3. So it's still going to be interesting to listen to, instead of all of us sitting around going like, mine too. Here's why I like it. Yeah, I like it for the same reasons. Okay, what do we say next? Well, I guess we just go to the next artist. Like, Justin's going to have some curveballs. And I can rely on that, so I can be very, in the fantasy world, fantasy football, fantasy sports, like, the obvious choice is always called like chalk. I'm like, I've got 3 pretty chalky choices here, but Justin will be there with some live wire hits.
We'll see though. We'll see.
You see that, and Justin's like, you're not gonna be able. I mean, mine, you're probably gonna know mine, but his first one's gonna be like John Miller. I'm like, who? Who? He was like, John Miller.
He was a kid I went to college with. I really like.
She was a great Batman. He got a folder from our science class. It's fantastic.
You guys
scribbled it right on the front.
Impacted me, man. So
I think it's for me, it's kind of a combination of like what both of you have said, of like Justin, and one consideration definitely is like what art takes you back and puts you in a time and place sort of deal, lets your imagination run wild. But then also, like Garrett, like you said, of like longevity, because there are tons of artists who it's like, oh, that's a great cover, let me look up and see what else they've done as far as Batman goes, and there's like wasn't much. I'm like, well, I can't base off of just one cover and one image. So it's like, who has a great like resume of Batman work and stuff. So I think like those 2 factors kind of went into my decision in narrowing it down. Because I had some obvious choices, and then I had some tough cuts. So let's kick it off then. So let's start with our number 3s, and Kowalski. Let's have you kick it off. Let's see if it is that John Miller. Is it John Miller?
It is not John Miller. It is not, and I don't feel like mine are like, if you're paying attention to everything, you'd be like, okay, this makes sense.
It's okay.
So my number 3 is my rookie. I'll call it my rookie pick, is Clayman.
Ooh,
I love
Clayman.
Clayman's Batman. Yeah, and I think I first came into him, and it kind of goes against what we were saying a little bit earlier. Like, has he done anything definitive? And I love all the work he did on the Batman Catwoman book. He first came in though in the War of Jokes and Riddles as a fill-in. There was like a little break where he did the Kite Man issues. Because I think his art is very complimentary to Michael Yannon, who was doing the artwork for that. He came in and I was like, oh, he did those, and he also did like the Kite Man and things like that. And anyways, I really was like, I like this guy's art, and it had a Jim Lee quality to it, but it wasn't as like, scribbly and scratchy and stuff. And I think it's a really great, like, just straightforward take on Batman. It doesn't have anything that's like weird about it. It's like, I think it's pleasing. If you see his Batman, you're like, oh, that's a good Batman. It's not, it's a pretty, it's a modern, I would say it's modern house style DC on Batman. And that is not a knock. And his Catwoman is incredible, man. I'm just saying, let me just tell you, like, hands down, paws down, on the floor. Yeah. Like, he's just a great illustrator. And I've liked everything that he's done. Like, I'm like, man, he puts the work in. And I missed him when he was not doing those middle issues of Batman Catwoman, when they brought in what's his name?
Liam Sharp.
Liam Sharp. Yeah. I was like, dang it, dude. When you
story
miss
took a dive
you
on
missed
that,
art,
I thought.
Yeah, you just kind of threw off the whole thing, and I couldn't get back, So
those were tough. Those are tough issues. It's like, it's, the style change was so dramatic from Clayman, who I love his art. It's very, detailed. It's involved, but it's clean. Sometimes you talk about like detailed and involved art, and it can be a little messy. Like, he still has like very clean line work, and things are very defined. And when they made that switch, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's such a dramatic change. It was really hard for me to like mentally adjust. And then when he was back on, I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Because I really like that. It's a maxi series at that point. Do you consider it? But he was, his art in those issues were significantly better with his presence than when he was not there for it.
Totally agree. Justin, do you have like a standout cover of Clayman?
Yeah, I sent some stuff to you. And then I was like, oh shoot, how come hold on
But you told me not to look.
I did. That tell was you
the
not
subject.
To
look. It was like Batman stuff. Don't look.
Well, you said you didn't want to be surprised. So
I wanted to be surprised.
There was it's not popping. So there's there's issue 1. There's it's the Batman and Catwoman shot. Yeah. And to be honest, like, the hard thing with the covers is like sometimes my favorite images are inside the books, But there was a promo shot as well for, I think it was like the promotional poster for this.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know
and
that
it's
image.
Batman, he has kind of this leg strap thing going on too, but like, it was such a cool image of Batman and Catwoman. Just
I thought you were talking about the one with the Phantasm holding up, and then it had Batcat in it. I thought you were talking about that.
That one's rad too. That's a great
that one's cool too. Yeah, they're both good. They're both good.
Yeah, I think, like, hands down though, if I had to, like, with my other artists, Clayman's covers are probably some of the best too. Like, every one of them is like, that's a great poster. Like, that's a great, that could have just been a print. And so I think that's why I think I'm like, it's like I'm investing. If I was like, this was like, Bitcoin, everybody throw in on some of this Bitcoin. Like, I think that Clayman is going to be one of those artists that's like, oh man, he's just got great renderings. And
Tom King himself even said, and he was like, when you want sexy characters, you bring in Clayman. And so then in City of Bane, you've got Bruce and Selena, and the Tropicals barely wearing anything, and Bruce with a Tom Selleck mustache, and Catwoman in a very revealing bikini and stuff like that. And it's like, Clayman, you dog. And then you turn the page and they're both dressed up as Batcat, like kicking ass and stuff. And it's like, he's covering the spectrum.
He does it all. He does it all.
He does. So great pick.
Yeah. So there's my guy, Clayman. Go check him out.
I like it.
He sculpts Batman from clay.
Oh my gosh.
And he has the word man in his name. So that's
right
cool.
there.
We'll go to the list from our Italian here. His number 3 pick is someone that we're all familiar with on the Batman Book Club. Tim Sale.
Oh, okay.
Pete's third favorite. And what surprised me, so I guess, like I said, a number 3 pick for somebody that would, I guess it surprised me. I'm like, I don't know who. I couldn't have guessed, Justin, for you to have been Clayman. Garrett, I don't have a guess for you. So yeah, that he picked Tim Sale, but then I asked him, what's a standout cover for him, and he chose Detective Comics number 796.
Oh,
and it's got Stephanie Brown as Robin.
Yeah,
Stephanie Brown, who obviously has connections to Clue Master.
Who's Clue Master?
Yeah, I think it's Justin. Do the work. I think it looks like it's Zaz. I'm not familiar with the story, but I'm not surprised though that now looking at it, it's a Tim Sale cover, obviously. She's kind of like, jumping over Batman's head in a way, and I think it's Zaz that's on the side. Yeah, it's a very unique pick from Pete. So well done. I gave him an assignment and he did the work. That's one thing about those Italians. They'll do the work.
Do the work.
So there you go. So let's move along. Garrett, what do you got for number 3 here?
This is a much more straightforward kind of chalky pick, as I mentioned.
Okay.
This is one that, Laura, I know you are a fan of. We've talked about this man's art many times. It is the one and only Mr. Norm Brayfogle.
Hey!
Oh, hey!
I know Norm Brayfogle.
Yeah. And I'll say this. It's maybe not the most interesting choice, but this is, I think, talk about art that evokes a time period. Like Brayfogle was on a lot of different Batman titles. He was, drawing the character for a long time, detective and Batman. But there's just some images where, in my mind, when I picture like who Batman is to me, a lot of those images are Norm images. And, the cover, I've got a couple covers. It was really hard to
let's hear about these covers.
Let's go.
Batman number 465, which is, the modern rendering of Batman number 9 with Batman and Robin on the ledge and the spotlights there. And you get Brayfogle loves drawing his little bats that are kind of all around them.
He does.
Yeah. And Batman's got, he is a creature of the shadow. So he's pulling his cape up and covering the face exposed part of the cowl. And he's a little bit more back in the shadow. And Robin's out there, full chest to the spotlight. You got the new, at the time, R emblem, shining out, and it's a little bit bigger than it's normally presented inside the interior art, but the spotlight shining off the red and the green. And it's one of my favorite images ever. And this is actually on the title, it shows up as Batman with Robin. I just love that.
I love
the way it should be. No, I'm kidding.
But if you go through and scroll through like this era of covers, like, man, they're so good. And a lot of them are Brayfogle. So the other one I'd call out is Detective 587. It's Batman standing in a rain-soaked alley, mostly in silhouette.
Be
and
still
it's
my heart.
Brayfogle cape, right? It's not the uniform scallops. Oh, Justin's got a print of it. I just love that. Big, giant yellow.
I don't know why I have that.
Wait, is that the wood sign? Is that? Yeah. I've got that. I've got that too.
That's so
I need some wall space.
Thank you, Hobby Lobby.
It'd have been back here. Yeah. All right.
It's just like this cape that, like, it's so stylistic because realistically that's not the way the cape would be, but like he injects style in a way that I think people sort of pick on Kelly Jones for doing, like a little bit of the magnified over the top version. But Brayfogle has some of these images where he's doing a stylistic thing with the art. It's not a straightforward presentation, it's more of a representation. And he's just so good. And just the interior run, the stories he's involved in, I love it. It's kind of the Batman artist of my childhood when I really started reading books and the back issues that I'm like, oh, I love this, I got to find that later on in life. I could go on and on. I got a whole list of covers, but I won't, because he asked for one. I could give you about 7 pretty easily.
Yeah. Well done. The weight in my heart, and that's Midwest brain connection.
There it is, Lauer
there.
Pick.
There might be like right there. We go. These two little things right here.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh. Little Norm Brayfogle action going on right there.
I can't barely see.
I know. They're right there.
They're there.
They're there.
So okay.
Nice.
Whatever.
Well done, Garrett. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Good job,
I know
Garret.
that means a lot, and you'll be able to sleep tonight.
Mhm.
Let's go. Our Mario brother, one Sir Ryan Haas. He sent me his little 3-2-1 list.
Is it Chris Pratt?
Yes.
Is that his favorite Mario artist?
Obviously.
He's the best. He's my favorite everything artist.
Yes.
Chris Pratt for everything.
His pick for number 3 is Jim Lee.
Ooh.
Hey.
Fan favorite, obviously.
There you go.
And the cover of choice that Haas attached with this was Batman number 618.
Of course.
And if you look that up, of course, it is a decomposed Jason Todd body in a Robin suit. With the hush eyes and wrapping, deep in the back, and Batman running toward us, and easily identifiable Jim Lee Batman. And I think that's a common theme too. I think with our picks and everybody's picks too is just, I mean, Justin, as you just said, it's who you're talking about, who Pete said, Garret, who you just said, is like, you don't need a name attached,
Yep.
Like, I know who that is. I know that image. Image. And I think, I don't know, like whether you like it or you don't, I feel like mission accomplished on the artist then, of like, oh, I stand out. I'm not just generic. And so I think it's a clever cover. I don't think this is I don't think that this would be like everybody's number one Jim Lee cover pick. So I applaud the choice, Haas.
I think it's a really interesting choice for a cover for Jim Lee, because it's kind of Jim Lee's version of like an early 90s, or even in the 90s covers, we're kind of doing their version of some 70s covers. Like Jim Lee, what people pick on him for, it's like everything is posed and like it's kind of a still shot from a movie looking type image. And this is not Lee doing that. It's a little bit more artistic, right? Like at different layers, things are main character in the foreground, you got the background. It's telling a bit of the story with a visual representation with the decomposing Robin corpse. That you don't always think of Lee doing that, right? You think of like splash pages, action shot, or still pose
on a gargoyle, Batman pose kind of deal. Yeah, I agree.
Lee, what I love about Jim Lee Batman stuff, and I'll just focus on Batman. We're talking about Batman.
It's the Batman book club, Justin.
It's the Batman book club.
It's not the Wildcat book club.
That's right. This isn't Wildcats. This is an X-Men 5 covers #1. He puts the architecture detail work into his buildings. Like, he's not cheating. Like, even like just looking at that cover, like, obviously it regresses a little bit as you keep going back, but like, man, he's got you can tell like there's some structure there. I love it. I love what he does. And I was actually just kind of looking at this cover and I'm like, man, I never really appreciated it. And I'm looking at this, just the rib cage kind of coming through the tattered tunic of Robin. The hands look kind of clawy, which is kind of cool. And then you kind of got, and then again, Hush in the background. So there's this is like 4 levels of art here that are really cool.
Good call.
I can talk a lot about this cover. It's great. And then obviously everything's in the red hue in the back, and you just got Batman striking out in the blue and gray. It's such a good pick. It's a good cover. Dang it, Jim Lee.
So good. You with your technical soundness.
Yeah. You don't know.
As for me, this was a lot of fun because I finally picked my number 3 choice about 5 minutes ago.
Oh shoot!
I entered the conversation not knowing, going back and forth. And before we all reveal our number ones, I guess we could, if we wanted, you can do like 2 honorable mentions of who was like, so close. But my number 3 is Tim Sale. I think people would think for obvious reasons, it's just because he did the Long Halloween. It's like, no, he did an amazing sequel of Dark Victory. He did the prestige format, Haunted Night, Halloween specials.
He did Blades.
He did Blades. Like,
I love Blades.
Early great, work from Legends of the Dark Knight, and he did the Catwoman When in Rome, which I mean that might be the best looking book of the Sale Loeb comics. Like that just looks so good. And then he does, he's done so many covers. He did covers for all of those books. He did, he did a ton of variants. and everything. So I think he has so much standout work, and it just, evokes such a mood, such a, like a very noirish mood, and of Gotham that just fits perfectly. And I don't think that he has every single character in the Batman universe down perfect. But I think it is the atmosphere that he brings along with his work instantly. And surprisingly, I'm sure of like an image that sticks out to me is The Long Halloween #1. Maybe one of the most simple covers that he ever did, of just a black cat with its tail curling around the pumpkin that's cut out with the bat symbol. It's awesome. I mean, that's what I want as my background on everything, every single Halloween. I want a shirt with that pumpkin, with that cat, you name it. It's simple, and it's so representative. So I love it.
Sale's
I love Tim Sale.
Sale's an interesting one for me, because I mean, he was immensely talented as an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's worked on some of my favorite Batman stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I'll probably get, this won't sound the best.
This is a safe zone. This is a safe zone.
Say it, Garret.
Unless you're talking trash about him, and then you're going to get booted.
Tell us your feelings. This is a feelings episode.
Yeah. I love his work on the projects that he does, but it's not my preferred art style. Like when I look at it, and I wouldn't want to change him out on The Long Halloween or Dark Fate or any of these, right? But it's not like, for me, it's not like, oh yeah, this is what I like my comic art to look like. It's like a personal bias thing. I think he's incredible. They're some of my most read Batman stories ever, right? Like revisit those regularly. But like, it's just not like, for me, I think of him as an incredible artist who did some great work on Batman. When I think in my mind of a Batman artist, for some reason, like Sale doesn't pop up to the top, even though I really appreciate what he's doing. Like it's some weird internal mental definition for me, where it's just like, it doesn't quite cross that border, but obviously amazing, groundbreaking work on the character.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I think I'm in that same line. Like, I love Tim Sale's work on the stuff that he did. And and this might sound different. I think when you're talking about
feelings, Justin, it's okay.
Yeah, when you're talking about like, and sometimes you just have to. There's so many people, you just have to bracket it via like time. So if you're going like mid '90s to mid 2000s top comic book overall artists, I'm gonna put Tim Sale in there, because this stuff is so different that it stands out. But I mean, I think his storytelling's he evokes mood really well. Like, man. He hits the like kind of the noirish stuff that you need for Long Halloween. I love all his takes on the characters. Actually, I think I like goofy Joker, millions of teeth in his mouth type of stuff. Like, he has a really good creepy take on stuff. He used to get knocked for his Batman. They call him Homer Simpson Batman. Like there would be like those kind of goofy fanboy critiques, but
like the images of Batman sitting at Moe's, drinking Duff.
Yeah.
That's what they call
working at the nuclear plant. You know how he does.
What's this button do?
That's all Batman.
Tim Sale, I think, or I would just say he's a great comic book artist. If I had to if I'm rating somebody, but for the Batman thing, I appreciate his Batman. The work he does. I think the work that he does with Loeb just fits. I don't think he'd be a great. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. There we go, because it's gonna add into some takes.
Okay. That's all good. Oh, okay. Saving it for later. So that's what's kind of funny. My like Lassie is like hearing, and neither one of you just like dumped on him or his work or anything. But when people, if people do break down, I'm kind of like, well, this is why he isn't, and they pick, like this or this. And I think a lot of things are like the nose is weird or something, and they don't like the cape, as you could see as you go through his work. Like, you go with Blades, and it's a little bit more restrained. You get to Long Halloween and Dark Victory, the cape like just extends and curls and stuff like that. Yeah, there you go. Look at that scarecrow. Oh,
look at all those muscles, dude. Like,
he is jacked.
That's a really great image too. Sorry, I'm holding up the Haunted Night.
That's a good Tim Sale
cover. Yeah.
But like, and it's like I can hear somebody say that, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying, but it doesn't bother me. I still love it. It's like I can be sitting here looking at stuff, and then it's like a Tim Sale image comes up, and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh. Like, lean closer, look closer. Like, oh, that's Tim Sale. That's Tim Sale work. So yeah, he's my number 3. So there we go. All right, moving on to number 2s. Garret, you want to kick us off number 2?
Do it, Garret.
Yeah.
Do it.
When I think
Here's
of
another
number 2, I
one.
think of Garret.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. Who does number 2 work for? Here's another one that I think like would probably show up on a number of people's lists. I think this might be, if you were to Google, it might be one of the results you would get back for greatest Batman artist. And it's Jim Aparo.
Ah,
There you go.
I love Jim Aparo for a lot of the same reasons that I just talked about Norm Brayfogle. It's an era Batman, a little bit earlier, but an era of Batman. When I first started to become aware that there was more to the character than Super Friends and 66 reruns and superpower toys. And there's an image that's like burned into my mind. It's the cover of Batman 414. You have Aparo loves doing this, by the way. Reflections off knives that are held like right into the foreground, and you can see Batman that's swooping in, to save this woman who's about to meet a grisly fate at the end of this knife, and you get the reflection of Batman coming in to save the day. The image has like such urgency to it, and I think a lot of his covers really kind of convey that urgency. But Aparo did incredible work on the character for a really long time. There was another one where it's like, okay, so that one was 80s Batman, right? But if you go back, the other cover that probably comes to a lot of people's minds when they think about Aparo is from this limited collector's edition presents Batman special all villain issue. And it's Batman on a rooftop, gray and blue Batman with the yellow oval. And then in the spotlights, you have Joker, Catwoman, Penguin, and Two-Face. Yeah. And just really representative of that era. And
it's
sort
iconic.
Of
it's iconic
design. Very iconic.
That is an iconic cover.
It's been, reproduced in statues. Yeah. That's another big poster cover, right? You can grab that one on a poster pretty easily. I just love the way he, defined his Batman is a little bit more, lean and, classically straightforward. And I like that design. And this is another artist that when I think of that era of Batman, it's like, well, it's Jim Aparo. So it's Jim Aparo, number 2.
Yeah. Many pronounce him Goat.
Yes.
I think it's Goat. Yeah. It's a hard J, but it sounds like a G.
It's not crazy. Like when people try to say GIF is GIF. It's not.
Yeah.
Is it a joke?
Exactly.
Greatest.
He was in that mix of some of the first Batman comics that I was, exposed to and looking at. I didn't like to read words. I just wanted to look at the pictures. Right. And there were many Jim Aparo, Jim A. His covers and interior art and stuff. And yeah, there you go.
It's just beautiful.
Oh man.
His so
just
yeah,
grabbing stuff while you're talking, I'm getting excited. I'm like,
maybe more so than like many others. So Justin, something that you said at the very beginning here of like takes you back to a place. So I see a Jim Aparo Batman, but even more specifically Bruce Wayne face.
Yeah, totally.
Like takes me back, and instantly I'm like, okay, think in your mind like what does Bruce Wayne look like in a comic book, and it is that face with some of the blue and black like hair kind of combed over look, and he's taken the cowl off, so he's still in the suit and the capes on and everything, sitting in that cave in front of his big monitor and everything. Is like that to me pops in my head right away.
Yeah. So Jim Aparo, it's weird, like he's the first Batman artist, like the first. I've seen Batman art before as a kid, right? But like when Batman 89 came out, that's when my cousin would be getting some comics, and we'd look at them, and it was Jim Aparo art in it, and it was like, oh my gosh! My first surprise was Batman still wears blue and gray in the comics.
Yeah,
I thought I was like, why isn't he wearing the black suit from everything from the movie? Yeah, but I remember the art in those books, and I remember there was I don't know. It had to be a little bit later when it was like the Tim Drake was trying to investigate him, and he was going, the whole thing was like Batman's going nuts, and there was a thing where I think Alfred was talking to him about being extra violent. So I'm thinking, and there was a shot of Bruce Wayne. He's looking at his fists, and they're all cut up and stuff, and it was just like you're talking about. He's got that. He has his Bruce Wayne is real. It's like Kevin Conroy, like that's the voice.
Yeah.
Jim Aparo's
nice,
Bruce
good
Wayne.
pull. Yeah.
Jim Aparo's Bruce Wayne is like, I'm like, oh, who's Bruce Wayne? Jim Aparo's like illustration. It's really good, and it's kind of funny when you read the Death of Superman. I was just going through it. When you see him next to Superman, you're like, oh, it's kind of similar. But,
Yeah,
There's
they get a
definitely
little close.
yeah, but yeah, whatever.
Bruce's hair's a little wavier than Clark's.
Yeah, that's true. Less blue in it. No,
Yeah.
but yeah, Jim, man, you got it. Jim Aparo, he's you think about these guys who were illustrating in the 70s, his Aquaman stuff and some of his Deadman stuff, and then coming, to the it was kind of him and Brayfogle were the guys that had to pass the torch, and that was hard,
follow that.
Yeah, they got called up.
But you go back now and you're like, we appreciate it a lot, because I think I was one of the guys like, why can't Jim Lee draw Batman? You wanted that style of art, you wanted that like Image era, late 90s Marvel artist style at DC. You weren't really getting it. You would get people that tried and were like, oh, they're not so good. But now I'm going back, I'm like, man, we didn't know what we had, because the artist who followed up Aparo was not great. I didn't appreciate his art. I don't want to name his name, but I was like, oh, you go back and you're all, this doesn't look as good. So anyways, Jim Aparo, what a great pick, Garrett.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Gee willikers. Garrett, you sure do know how to pick them.
I tend to read a lot of funny books. So
yeah. Okay.
Did you invent Jim Aparo?
Yeah. If he wasn't real, I would have dreamed him up myself.
He'd have been your John Miller.
Yeah.
All right, for the Italian, let's go back to his kitchen. What he's cooking up.
Meatball Batman's my favorite Batman.
This doesn't surprise me. It might surprise you guys. Maybe not. His number 2 pick is Michael Turner.
Oh,
that does not surprise me.
Does not surprise me.
No, not at all.
For how great, and I forget what the comic story is that he and I covered, the Superman Batman story arc.
Yeah, it was a Supergirl. It was a
Supergirl one. Yeah, that story and that art, like,
he loves that run, man.
He does.
Yeah. And I mean, that was a great story. Of course, it had Pete's guy, Uxas, in there and everything. But yeah, the Batman, I mean, he had the extended cowl, ears on the cowl and stuff. But I mean, it's really great art. But the cover that Pete attached here was Identity Crisis number 5.
Yeah.
So Pete apparently isn't even a fan of Batman, because his covers aren't focused on Batman at all. But this one is, Robin down on his knees with his head in his hand, which I know what happens in that specific issue, number 5 of Identity Crisis. Yeah. Hence the cover. But I think that's a great cover. And yeah, Michael Turner. I don't think he has a ton. I know he'd passed away, but I don't think he has a long library of Batman work. But what I've seen of it, and I mean, it's just his work in general, I think is really, really good. So,
it's
well
a
done,
great
Peter.
Robin cover.
Yeah.
I really like the white around the edges, and then the reflective light off the hair and the cape is that same white. Like, we're so used to, like, with black hair characters, blue is the highlight for light hitting it. It's kind of nice to see that, really bright light that somehow makes the image even look real, like, darker.
Yeah, not to like over exaggerate. I think that's kind of like a risky proposal for a cover too. Yeah, because you're talking like a third of the cover is just white. Like, that's not, and it's just Robin on his on his knees, and it's windows open, and it's like, that's not exactly a flashy cover. But I mean, once you read the interior of that, then I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. It's a good one. Good job, Peter. You old so-and-so.
You old frolicker, you.
Yeah, the frolicker. Pete actually takes his absolute Superman Batman book and he frolics in the fields with it.
Just prances through fields.
I've got the video. As soon as he says one more mean comment, I'm posting it.
Done.
So, all right. Justin, let's head to you. You're number 2.
My number 2. I was like, why am I going to hold this up? Kelly Jones.
Hey,
oh, there we go. There's Kelly.
There he is.
There's Kelly. I know. I didn't want to talk too much earlier. I was talking because we were talking about him in the rankings.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna show my hand. So,
I got you.
Kelly Jones, man.
Yeah.
He's kind of. It's where I'm thinking about he kind of falls into the same category as maybe Tim Sale for some folks. Like for me, I just what I love about Kelly Jones is I think like his Batman is so weird, and I'm saying this as a fan, it's off-putting.
Yeah.
If you're just picking up a comic book, and I'm actually surprised at the run he had. He had a long run on the Batman title.
You can't see him right there.
You got another one.
Little Kelly Jones books. Yeah,
My
we
collection.
inspired you, Justin.
I know, man.
And Kelly Jones was on this show.
I have all these issues too, and I was like, I want them collected. I just I loved everything that was going on back then, man. You know, Doug Munch, man, him and Kelly Jones is like, oh gosh, he had such a great such a great run. And the covers, man.
His covers are insane.
Yeah, and obviously Lauer has highlighted that we've done the Dracula Red Rain trilogy for Batman Book Club. Rest in peace. We don't have another one to do. We'll have the right one. But yeah, so here's my take on Kelly Jones. His Batman is like what Batman looks like when you're freaking terrified, when you have the nightmares of what Batman looks like. That's kind of like the way I take it. It's like in Batman Begins where, there's the fear version, this ape just kind of yeah. So some of my covers I threw at my guy Lauer. Did you look at him? So
now I have it open.
One of my favorites, and I think this is pre-Nightfall. It was like a really random cover. Okay, Detective Comics 651 is one of my favorites because his cape is just like just fluttering, like bat wings all around it.
That's like from the Red Rain trilogy. Like I feel like we've seen that cape a few times spread out in those 3 books.
And that's just a random, just a random Batman issue with Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan, right? But the cover is just probably something they have. They're like, I'll just throw this Kelly Jones print on there.
Yeah, why not?
It's got a bunch of bats on it.
Yeah, just a bunch of bats. Yeah. But then there's I wanted to highlight 2 more because it's my time to pick. So there's this really great Nightfall cover. And it's got, hey, Zaz is making his appearance again. And it's just kind of Batman creeping over some chick who's like, probably a victim. And it's Batman 493. Oh, I love that cover. It's such a great cover.
Now,
you almost missed that Zaz is there. You almost missed that Zaz is there.
Mm-hmm.
But say it.
So that is, I feel like I have to mention.
Yeah.
Kelly Jones came on this show. I got to talk to Kelly Jones. Never thought that would happen. And I threw this cover out specifically because I said, as a kid, that scared the shit out of me.
Terrifying.
Just that cover scared the shit out of me because you have a victim who's laying on the ground, which is horrifying, as Batman in his haunting way, very shadowy and just like scary as hell, draped over him. It's almost like a Dracula.
Yeah.
Like Dracula. But then you've got this guy right before he's about to stab Batman in the back, and it just scared the hell out of me. I just felt like, oh my gosh, that's too scary.
His covers always felt like they were monster movie posters at some point to me. I think, like Justin, the way you said about it, it's sort of the representation of Batman if you are terrified of Batman. It's very much like he's representing, it's not just an image. He's not just drawing. It feels like he doesn't draw Batman as much as he draws a picture of Batman, right? And he's really, really good at it.
Yeah. He just, that take, I mean, you can draw a pretty straightforward Batman, like which that's Clayman. Clayman's my straightforward pick, but like Kelly Jones he's just really good at that creepy, and I don't ever want to see this Batman in a movie because it wouldn't make sense. It only works as illustration. You know?
And they've done a bunch of different statues based on Kelly Jones Batman, and I don't like any of them.
Yeah.
Like once you try to make it something that exists in the real world and in 3 dimensions, it loses it for me entirely. But the image itself on the page is just gorgeous.
Yeah. I love it. So I just think there's just something about feeling repulsed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love, and I
something about the image that is gross. Like it's like,
you're just like, oh my gosh, this Batman is not in the Justice League. This Batman is in the shadows. He is skulking, and he it's like, and I'm just making my own thing. It's like he probably doesn't even fight. He just absorbs you into his cave, into a bat cave of torture. Like, I don't know.
Like it's the Batman when Batman is trying to make you believe he's a supernatural creature to scare the hell out of you,
100%,
as opposed to superhero Batman.
Yep. There, I think that actually wraps. That's a really great, like,
that's a wrap.
No, I
No.
mean, so that's I love that thought, Garrett. I love it. Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
I
I
think
like-
we have to extend the Kelly Jones talk because that's Ryan Haas's number 2. Is
Ah,
Kelly
great.
Jones.
Haas
And
is
Ryan-
the boss.
Ryan Haas's cover pick is Batman 493.
There you go.
Boom.
Are you kidding me?
Look at you two.
Did we
Hey.
just become best friends?
Yes, man. Ah.
Nice.
I mean, I'm not. I mean,
It's your boy.
I don't think I could have picked Ryan Haas's 3. He's a wild
don't-
card,
Yeah.
but
You're gonna
I'm not
segue right into his 3, huh?
I'm not surprised that I'm not surprised he chose the Nightfall cover.
Right.
If there's
No, that's
somebody
not
that
a
bleeds
shocker.
Nightfall, is of
Right.
course it's Ryan Haas, but I
He
don't have
lo-
anything
he
to
loves
add
the-
to that.
Big extended ongoing sagas with
Yep,
the whole
he
family
loves the
and multiple
sagas.
characters.
Oh, yeah.
That's his jam, man.
It is. So not surprised by his pick. Good pick. Good cover choice. Justin, well done.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I got
Kelly
an
Jones, he's a great guy. Great guy.
That's good.
My number 2. This may not be surprising. I don't know. You guys might have heard of
I'm
him.
listening.
I've gotten to speak to this fella as well a few
Oh.
times. His name's Lee Bermejo.
I knew this one was coming.
Yeah. Nobody's surprised by this.
The super fan.
The maybe surprised is not number 1, but yeah, also maybe not surprised. But the real challenge here is like, I can't tell you a cover. I don't know. Just type Lee Bermejo, Lee Bermejo Batman, and you'll get pick one. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like you guys have talked about, Justin, especially with you, of like almost like an exaggerated, this is my like exaggerated pick, and then with Kelly Jones and Clayman's like your almost like realistic pick, your down to earth pick, whatever. Bermejo is my like realism pick. It's just like I love his grounded takes on everything, and it really blows my freaking mind that he loves Dick Sprang so much. Because Dick Sprang
it's crazy.
is like
Could it be
complete
further away?
opposite.
Yeah.
And I love that he loves Dick Sprang, and his art to me almost feels like there's no Dick Sprang here, but there's some covers, sure, maybe like a little bit here or there, but I love his realistic, his gritty, almost anything of his that he draws up, I could frame it and I'd be happy with. If I have to pick one, it's like maybe it's because it's sentimental. It's the cover to Noel, just because that's
Sure. It's a good cover.
It's my
number-
favorite stuff from him.
Yeah.
I love Noel so much.
Yeah,
It's a good
it's
story.
great.
It's
It's
my,
wonderful.
I think, 100 episodes ago, I put that as my number 2 Batman story because I read it multiple times every year. I read it every Christmas because every single page. That's when he elevated from, Joker. He had some realistic with the still older Lee
Yeah.
Bermejo, and
Yeah.
when he did the Luthor story, he kind of did that as well. And we got a glimpse of his realistic Batman, of like an up close kind of version. And it's like, this is your tease of like the Bermejo to come. And then when Noel hit and the whole book was, that's when
he
he
emerged
elevated
from his Bermejo cocoon.
that. Yeah.
To a
And
beautiful
that's
Bermejo butterfly.
His Burmay home.
yeah, as
Bermejo,
it were.
yes, nice. And he hasn't like looked back since, really, I don't think. So maybe I don't know, like he does dark stories and mature, and when he teams up with Azzarello, kind of maybe some controversial stories and stuff. But I
Totally.
just feel like his art is
Totally.
never really something that people, if people don't like the story, I don't think it's usually because of Bermejo's art. And even people who say that like he's not my favorite, he is insanely talented. So I don't know what else I can say other, like I gush about him almost as much as the Long Halloween on this show. So it's probably surprises no one. I love Lee Bermejo's art. So good.
I love his art. I'm kind of in that camp, Lauer, where it's like I love his art. He's insanely talented, but for some reason he just isn't one of my favorite Batman artists. Like every single one of his, like if you take almost any one of his panels, I'm like, that's gorgeous. I would love a print of that. Or like the cover for me that I love is Detective 1027, where it's Batman and Nightwing leaping off the roof, and then in the skyline is like the golden era, and maybe it's Dick Sprang, maybe it's Bob Kane, and like here's like what it looked like from back in the day. He's so great at making those images. For some reason, for me, like real world gritty Batman, just like I can appreciate it in smaller chunks. Like I like the way it looks to look at it, but when it's like the cover to cover art, it's almost overwhelming. There's so much detail and he pays so much attention to every aspect. Sometimes I find my eyes almost wash over the top of it because there's so much going on. And that's not a slight by any means. I mean, this guy's doing the work. He makes something beautiful. Yeah. It's almost overpowering to me.
Yeah. He's another one of those scary Batman artists. Yeah, like Batman's the scary superhero, but like he's one of the in the vein of like the Kelly Jones. It's Lee Bermejo is if Kelly Jones and like Alex Ross had a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love that he is a fan of kind of the old stuff. You know, some guys just love Dick, and that's what it is. And he likes Dick Sprang, right? Yeah, there was my joke. Sorry, just cut that out.
Oh, it's staying in, Kowalski.
You know, he can mimic that stuff.
Yeah,
like because he's done it on multiple covers where he's kind of mimicked that old art style. And here's the thing: when I think of Lee Bermejo right now, like there's an image that popped out where he's holding a little kid, like a little girl, and they're in an alley, and there's like this, neon bats. Oh man, it's such a cool cover. You don't typically get that with his Batman is usually like very gritty and hand leather gloves through a leather
browns and grays and
so many like Hot Topic straps on his boots and stuff, you know. But that image, I was like, oh man, that's like one of the best images I've seen him do, because it's not that his Batman isn't heroic, but this one, it just tells such a great story.
It does, especially like, the missing children posters on the wall, and Batman's holding the it's a beautiful, beautiful image. Yeah. Bermejo's Batman to me is always like you said, just kind of like where Kelly Jones is terrifying in that it's otherworldly and supernatural. Bermejo's Batman is terrifying because he looks like a force of nature that is going to beat the ever living hell out of everyone in front of, like just rage and muscle waiting to explode, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. He's it's actually like I can't believe he hasn't been edited by the comic book editors. Like, hey, you know, could you make
he was in one story and Damn's number one.
No, not that. Right? I didn't mean like that. I just meant like typically when they're doing like comic book covers and stuff, you know, they want you to be as traditional. Like, hey, draw, make sure Batman looks like the same Batman inside the comic. And Bermejo's doesn't. Bermejo's looks like complete,
like just do your thing, Lee.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm gonna draw Batman
with your genius,
with armor and snappies and zips and buckles.
He's like Batman at the end of Dark Knight Returns. They're just like, he's too big. Like Bermejo's just too big now. Who are we as DC to come in and tell him to?
We're not gonna limit his genius here.
He's all, this is what I do. So I want to read that comic that's based on all his variant covers from the last couple of years.
Dear Detective.
I haven't had a chance to like peek at it yet, but I want to. I want to see
that. My God.
Yeah. Good job.
It's cool. It's really cool. I think Garrett, what you just said with you, sometimes like I think maybe like cover to cover is just like overload of like, I think that's gonna be it for Dear Detective for you. Because it's 56 covers. Like,
my goodness.
And the amount of time you put into a cover image as opposed to a panel in the interior art, like it's a feast that I might get full on quickly. I have to come back later and have seconds after I've had a little time to digest and let my tummy settle.
Yeah, it's remarkable though. Of course, I liked it. I mean, duh. Garrett, question though, because kind of as you said, of almost like an overload. So I almost feel like the realistic look. Bermejo is Gotham, Alex Ross is Metropolis,
and you know what, I can feel. I think we talked about this, you know, months and months, if not
when you were preaching, speaking the gospel of Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come. I love Kingdom Come. I adore it. I adore Alex Ross. There are times when I have to stop and take a breath when I'm rereading Kingdom Come because there is so much going on. It can be overwhelming. And there's a lot, especially in Kingdom Come, with all the different characters that show up. There's a lot that you need to take in to really appreciate everything at play. But it gets to be a lot when these artists are cover to cover every panel on the interior art for me. Like it's just got, it's a lot going on. Doesn't mean I don't love it.
Why do you hate it, Garrett?
Yeah,
He's a hater.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard you.
Why
said
do you think you know better than Alex Ross and Lee Bermejo? Well, first of all, I don't. I send you guys pictures of my Batman doodles sometimes, and they're not any good.
Amazing. Amazing.
Was that
stuff.
Batman?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Justin's like, here's a book on anatomy you might want.
Yeah, let me.
That's not the proportion legs are to torsos, Garret.
Garret, work on your quads and then work
Yeah.
on your quads, okay?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yep. Can't skip leg day.
Why does his neck look like a ham? No.
He's meaty.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right. Well, final round.
Oh boy, here it is.
All right. Yeah, this is where it is. So I'm going to start off, and I think there's a method to my madness here. I'm going to kick it off with the frolicker Peter Vera, which I think if each of you guys had to guess, I think you'd guess this. Anybody listening to that guy who talks a lot, you would know his number one pick, and he said without a shadow of a doubt.
Wait, can we guess?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you
Just
guess, and then Garret, you guess.
No reasoning, just guess.
Yeah, say nothing.
Justin, we'll guess on 3.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Neil
Adams.
It was Neil Adams.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh my gosh! No way! No way!
Neil Adams, he redefined Batman. He redefined Batman.
Talk
Like everything.
Here's a
Chris
great-
Neil
I
Adams.
asked
Adams
Neil
is a
about
great
it one
Batman.
time when we were having a slice.
One time,
if anybody
Boy
said-
sausages. I made a Neil
he
Adams
makes his own
sausage.
pasta. He makes his own pasta, and he makes his own noodles. And also, if any of you said it's not Neil Adams, then you're wrong. You're not a Batman
wrong.
fan.
You're wrong.
Just get out of here. Well,
You're in the
go
way.
Yankees. Yankees win. Yeah, it was Neil Adams. It was Neil Adams. He loves Neil Adams. Anybody listens to Pete Talk, you know that he said it. This isn't a surprise. So I knew it was going to be Neil Adams, but I'm like, ooh, I want to know, what cover did Pete send me? Do you guys have? There we go. I know this, and this is tougher. And if you don't have one, it's completely fine. But do you by chance have maybe a Neil Adams cover that you think he attached here?
There's some that come to my mind right away. I think for Peter, I'll try to. I don't know. This is a pretty standard answer too. Batman 244 is what comes to mind, with Roz, standing over Batman. He's holding the Batman costume. They're in the desert. His sword stabbed into the sand. Demon lives again cover.
Mine's 241. That's what I think it is. This.
You think Batman 241?
Oh,
yeah,
it's a great image.
I'd have guessed Joker's 5-Way Revenge.
Oh.
Batman 251, which I would argue is definitely, I think, and that's a whole other discussion of top 3 Batman comic covers of all time. I think that one's up there. That one's great. There's a guy here in this little trio talking right now that got it correct. It's Batman 244.
Oh!
Hey,
Man, you and
I
Pete
know my
hate each
Peter.
other, but you know Peter Vera pretty
I know my
darn
Peter.
well.
Go
okay?
Twins.
He's gonna be very impressed with you, even though you're a vegan. Like,
Yeah.
he's gonna be very impressed.
And he won't even have you on his own podcast.
Dude,
Yeah,
refuses.
yeah, that's another thing. Olive
That's
Branch
true.
extended for you too,
Oh,
but yeah,
yeah.
he chose. I don't know. I'm surprised. So, what would make you think? What made you say, because of Pete, that you choose one with the Roz cover?
I've just, I've heard, Peter will talk about Roz. I think there's some of the standard covers. Like, this is obviously a classic, iconic Neil cover,
Sure.
right? But
Yeah.
it might not be in the top 3 or 4 that get mentioned. Like, Batman 232 with Roz, and you get Batman and Robin. That one pops up. 5-Way Revenge, we already talked about.
Not Batman Odyssey.
Yeah, not Odyssey.
Sorry, Pete.
Superior Earth stuff.
It's one of Pete's favorite stories.
Batman 227 might get mentioned right away. The Demon of
Sure.
Gothos Mansion. I just felt like a Peter pick. And I know he likes Roz.
Peter
I know
pick.
this, like, swashbuckling Batman, like globetrotting era.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well done. There you go. Pete's top 3. Garret.
Can I go next?
Yes, I want you to go next. I
Good,
actually
'cause
was gonna
mine's
make sure
Neil
that you were
Adams.
next. Yours is
Yeah,
Neil
so-
Adams. Hey.
Yeah, Neil Adams. I love Neil Adams. And I love it because I think
You know what I
if
think? I'm thinking Saving Silverman. Neil.
Neil, I
want to party with you.
Yeah, dear departed Neil.
Yeah.
I just think what Neil Adams did on Batman, and Neil Adams art in general, particularly with his Batman, really sort of changed the direction of comic book art. And you can see how his style influenced, everything down the line, and became sort of what comic art became, in the 90s. Like, I think even some of the Image stuff, and you can trace back to how Neil started framing characters and panels in some different ways. And it was really fresh. It sort of was a combination of being like pop arty while without being too like 60s pop arty, but like the next move forward where there was a mix of stylization with a little bit more realistic nature to it, but it felt fresh. It felt like, I don't know, it feels like pop when I look at it, not in like the, you know, million little, you know, dot imagery pop art of the 60s, right? But like progressing the art form to its next iteration. Like Neil ushered that in, and he was just a giant.
Yeah, I think Pete, I don't know if he said this to me on one of his days that he called me, or if it was like if he typed it out or something, but he just kind of said it's almost like his challenge on why Neil's the greatest Batman artist is gonna. He was just, they almost like reframed the character's look based on Neil Adams's art. Like that became like the look of Batman.
Yeah.
I can't argue with anybody who would ever say that's the greatest Batman artist. That's their favorite Batman artist. And it's like, oh, of course, because it's Neil Adams and he's fantastic. Like he's awesome.
Do you feel like Neil Adams' Batman kind of gave birth to like someone like Jim Aparo?
I'd say yes, but I think Aparo was doing covers basically at the same time. Anyway.
Was he?
Yeah,
I
his
feel like they're
Unbreaking the
very
Bold.
close. They're very close to. I just feel like if you were reading a Neil Adams Batman comic and then they switched the art, you know, next week, you know, Jim Aparo, it wouldn't be a big shock in the sense of like there's similarities in like the approach is what I mean.
Yeah.
So I get that. I feel like Aparo's lines are maybe stronger, you know, where Neil's are he's a little more like I think he's a more classically trained artist, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
it's no surprise then that was the final matchup on the bracket.
Yeah.
Aparo and Adams.
I know
both such great classic looks, but I think they are like, you know, they're not the same. It's like, oh, those are two different. You put it like each of their Batmans up against each other, and it's like, yeah, it's different, but they both have that classic Batman feel to it. Garret, do you have a standout cover?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's kind of among the ones that I mentioned, but I think again, chalk pick, like this is a standards, like, oh, you're really branching out and cutting deep. No, I'm not. It's Five-Way Revenge, you know, Batman 251.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. You know, I think it's again, like it's a mix of like Neil's like the more realistic aspects with it's completely representative, right? Like it's over the top. There's not actually a giant Joker standing over, you know, or a miniature Batman in a miniature Gotham City, whichever way you want to look at it. But it's so classic and iconic. Like I was like, oh, should I pick something a little bit more interesting and less obvious? No, go with the obvious. It's great. Everybody knows it for a reason.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I agree. Now this is fun. And Garret, I'm glad that you partnered up with Pete here, because Justin Kowalski is partnering up with the Ryans. To put the big capper on this favorite Batman.
The
artist.
big Dougaroo.
Yeah. Ryan Haas and Ryan Lauer, their number ones are the same as Justin Kowalski. But Justin, you are a guest in this house, so I want you to name who your favorite Batman artist is.
My favorite Batman artist is somebody who all of us recognize as one of the greats. He has an extensive Batman career. He has graced covers and interiors of Detective Comics and Batman comics. He's done Elseworlds. He's even done things for independent companies, but he is best known for his take on the Dark Knight Detective. And he does one of the best Batman logos. His Batman logo, when you see his Batman logo, you know it is a Norm Brayfogle Batman.
Yeah, here he
is.
is.
Yeah, Norm
Brayfogle.
There it is.
Sorry, I was like, that's why I had my image ready. I was like, I'm gonna hold this up, and then
why do you have that one?
You
there?
stole it. You're like, just sitting on the ground. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hold this image up. So,
well, what's so great though is, so Garret, you chose Norm Brayfogle, and you said you picked, you know, your cover. And I'm like, well, yeah, that would have been one I could have chosen, but I've got like 17 more in the chamber. So I was like, Justin, You may hate Robert Pattinson's Batmobile, while I love it, but we can always come back to Breyfogle. We will always come back to common ground of Breyfogle.
We will.
So,
We definitely will.
Yeah, I mean, Haas, like I said, Haas chose Breyfogle as well. For me, I mean, yes, it's close. I love Bermejo, but I love Breyfogle. I got to tell Bermejo I love Breyfogle, and because it's all connected. Bermejo said the first artist he ever got to meet was Breyfogle.
It's so cool.
He loved Breyfogle, and my mind kind of blew, and I'm like, well, this is fantastic. Justin,
do it.
These two books, Legends of the Dark Knight, Norm Breyfogle, are really expensive now to track down. I cannot recommend more to buy these because this is just lovely with all of his, and you can see the evolution of his artwork, all the covers that are included, in this. I mean, they're just such great collections of an artist that is just incredible. And what makes me really happy is that I don't know, like up until I started like this show, I didn't know, like, am I kind of alone in how my praising of Breyfogle, and ended up finding out how many people just like freaking love Norm Breyfogle.
Yeah.
He didn't win the bracket, but who'd he lose to? He lost to Neil Adams.
Whatever. What a rip.
Yeah, it's
what a rip.
It's fine, but Justin, what was your cover of choice? I know you sent me some covers, but
yeah. Before I hit my cover of choice, I want to actually show you the first Breyfogle comic I ever purchased,
Okay.
And I got it off the newspaper, like the newsstand rack. It was at a local like magazine shop. I remember my mom was doing something and I just wandered the mall, back when you can do it. And I could so I saw this cover and I was like, what the heck is this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like I think it was the end or almost
towards the end of
the beginning of the Obi-Man story where Tim Drake loses his parents. Spoilers.
Yep.
And so I was kind of coming in, like, I was like, what's Detective Comics? I mean, there's Batman comics. And like, anyways, there was this, it was such a striking image, but so that's kind of what sucked me in. I bought that comic because of the cover.
Yeah.
I was like, look at that cover, but I added a whole bunch of stuff. I couldn't think. I was trying to like, here's something wild. I like, Breyfogle's covers, but I don't feel like they're all iconic, whereas like, I would say most of like, like Kelly Jones's covers are amazing. I think some of my favorite Breyfogle is the interiors,
Yeah.
But whatever. But I found a couple that I love. I actually love Detective 621. It's just his Batman when he's all silhouetted, but like his cape's, blue. It's just, Batman's all in black and he just has the yellow parts pop. That's a cool cover. It's just the way he illustrates Batman. He's either all in shadows, like, oh, his Bruce Wayne's the best because his Bruce Wayne always has a Batman shadow.
Yeah.
Even with the eyes, like it's weird how he'll do that. He'll even shadow out like the face of Bruce Wayne and like it's like the shadow hits the cover. He's just really good at that part of storytelling. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. But my images, I put Batman 463. I love that. It was just some random issue where Batman actually drives to like Los Angeles or drives to California. And he ends up, this is where he gets Ace.
As one does.
The new version of Ace. He gets him from like I think it's from like a shaman or something like that. And then the cover, there's Detective Comics 561. I just loved that image of Batman. Again, it's similar. It's like the flip of 463. Just, you seeing Batman hiding in his cape. I love Breyfogle Batman. Huh?
561. Is that the one of him on like the gargoyle?
Sorry, 591.
591. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I flipped
gotcha.
the 9. It looks like he's fighting somebody looks like there's drugs.
This cover
on.
you included. This is the Batman Davin. I don't know which cover that.
Okay, so this is actually from Who's Who. That's from Who's Who.
Okay.
Who's Who was like the DC Comics like information collection, like they would tell you all the characters and what they did, the powers,
little encyclopedia
action. Yeah Batman was the last part. It was like a 15-part series and he was in the last collection, and that image where everyone was waiting, why is Batman not in Who's Who?
So you want to know what I love about that? So that's included in this book too, and it was Who's Who in the DC Universe number 10.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Joe Potato.
Yeah, Joe Potato by Norm Brayfogle.
I love it. Yeah, by Brayfogle. Good old Joe
I remember
Potato. Come on, Matt Reeves, bring
Oh,
him
I
in.
forgot
Bring
about
him
Joe
in.
Potato. I forgot about Joe Potato. That's so
Joe
funny.
Potato.
Can't forget about Potato.
You can
Yeah.
never forget about Joe Potato.
I want a book where Harvey Bullock, Joe Potato,
Joe Potato.
and Slam Bradley all hang out.
Yeah. Why can't
Oh.
Joe Potato be in the Penguin?
He should be. All right. Yeah, but anyways, yeah,
There's-
Brayfogle was there's something about it. It just takes me back reading those comics.
we could do a whole episode on Brayfogle.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different elements. One thing, Justin, because do you love his Batmobile?
I'm okay with this Batmobile.
You're okay with it. I've got this one.
It's not
when
my
they did the hard metal, I forget what the line was. I've
it
got
was
this
Ertl,
one. and it
Johnny
feels-
Lightning ones, the Johnny Lightning ones. I have it.
Yeah, those are
somewhere.
fun.
His Batmobile's fine.
It's fine.
I will say that his Batmobile was one of the Batmobiles that was the most consistent in that era. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when you get on a Batman book, you just draw they're all the cars are generic. You're like, oh, there's not really a standard look. His was standard. He drew his Batmobile, and that's why they made a metal version of it, because it was pretty iconic. You know, it's fine. It's not my favorite of the era, but it is
something that he and Aparo did well, and I mean it takes me back, is their Batcave images. I
Mhm.
love their caves.
Yeah.
I feel like it was I think Brayfogle's greatest book, beginning to end, is Birth of the Demon, because it's got like the painted look with it well. But then I think that's the one where it does have almost like Wayne Manor above ground, then you're seeing below ground is the cave, like kind of mapped out, and it all looks like great. His covers are great. Like his art itself stands out because he does such good emotive facial work, I think, in a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times where you'll get like some exaggerated art from him. The eyes always.
It's almost like there's like a lot of like.
Yeah, he just got like
sort of-
Deadpool eyes, right? Like in the movie, like Deadpool's white CGI eyes. Like that's kind of like when I was like, damn, it looks like they're looking at Brayfogle panels to influence these Deadpool CGI eyelids.
I mean, there's that, and there's almost like a lens flare before J.J. Abrams copyrighted it, you know, on the eyes and stuff, like Zaz in that Batman 493 issue. Like Brayfogle did the interior art, and it's like it's a horror story, it's a slasher horror story, and he does with Zaz. It's such like pointed, or it comes to a point, thin, like sharp angled like eyes too with that, and it has the light shining off of it. He does like nobody does a kick like Brayfogle. He loves to have the extended kicks of all of his characters.
Oh, his legs are so powerful. Like his
he
Batman isn't
he knows
over...
the quads. Take lessons from him, Garrett. Okay,
his Batman is like Bruce Lee style body, you know, like very muscly, but not like muscle bound. Just like he's developed his muscles because he's a freaking ninja. He needs to move fast, you know. His cape is in the sense of almost like Kelly Jones. Like Garrett was saying that earlier, it kind of comes alive when it needs to.
Yeah.
And it stays tight when it needs to. And I feel like Brayfogle was the initiator of like Batman having pointy shoulders.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, I feel like he was the guy who like made the capes kind of like launch up into the sky, which is really cool. I used to draw. I'm like, I wish I had like a Batman box of comics that I drew on when I was like 15, and I would do the Brayfogle like points. I gotta find it.
So Haas picked 465, Garrett. So well done, you and Haas. See, we're all in sync together. We should start a boy band. But I'm double checking.
I get to be Joey Fatone.
He did 465. Oh, silly Joey. Mike. So covers for me. So I'm going to give two, since Haas has already got taken by Garrett. One that really sticks out to me, because just like the Nightfall one, it was I saw this cover before I saw that Nightfall one that scared me. And this one scared me. It's Detective Comics 612 that had Catwoman and Catman.
Yeah.
But they're like Catman's symbol and his cape is colored, but otherwise he's in silhouette. Catwoman's in silhouette. Their eyes are glowing. And then there's cats just tearing Batman apart. And it really scared me as a kid, because I'm like, Batman's dead by cats, and we had cats. And so I wasn't trusting cats.
Nice.
And then I didn't know the amount of love that people have until I've posted it on, and I think I've posted this cover like 2 or 3 times in the history of the Batman book club, and it gets so many responses and participation, is Batman 457 of Scarecrow.
That was in my list of ones that I would also
Yeah.
could be able to go on and on with different covers.
And I think so. Anytime you include spiders, like you feel them, it's scary. So spiders crawling all over Batman, who's hung upside down. Scarecrow is scary. I love his design of Scarecrow too.
Yeah.
But then it's like the image of Tim Drake, Robin, in the window is a classic Brayfogle angular, like sharp imaged pose.
Yeah.
And he's in silhouette because the moon behind him. And it was like definitely a teasing that this is where we're going to see Tim Drake as Robin.
Right.
Like, in the first
and there's like so much motion in that image. Like there's just a lot of urgency to it. It's that you can tell it's like a really sharp kind of whip around by Scarecrow. The windows are getting burst open, the angular, approach of the body. It's just like there's a lot going on.
There's Spidey's crawling all over Batman.
I love that you said that with angular, because I think that is such a reason that Brayfogle sticks out, is because his images are stills, but they're always posed and like they are giving energy or action or something going on. So yeah, Brayfogle.
If you guys can look up Batman and Detective Comics issue 627, it's the recreation of Detective 27, and it's such a cool image. And I swear, there's like he has the criminal in a headlock, like just swinging by, but the two guys on the building are the guys from Batman 89. It looks
yes, sir.
Like it has to be.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I just don't know if you guys had that
same
take.
Up.
Shut up! You want to cut the money or not?
Good call. So there you go.
That kid.
Brayfogle. Yeah, Brayfogle and Adams.
Woo!
Between five of us,
the Kings.
Two artists. So there's our favorite artists. I put this out. So lastly, before we wrap up, I did put this out and asked some people on Twitter at the Batman BC, who is your favorite Batman artist? And I was hoping for a little bit, and I said, hey, we'll share them. And there's a shit ton of people commented. There is one standout for sure from the account of Technicolor Web of Sound, who said Burt Ward and Frank Zappa, because of the hit record in the 60s of Burt Ward and Frank Zappa.
Yeah, it's a curveball.
Recording artist. And I thought, bravo, creative thinking. But a lot of participation here, a lot of artists that people just named, and that's the only time they were referenced. And there were a couple overlaps, but we'll do like the top five. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the top five coming in like at the 5th spot was Tim Sale. 4th spot was Neil Adams. 3rd spot, Jim Lee. So already I'm kind of like, wait, hold on. This kind of isn't making sense considering the bracket challenge votes.
Well, but you just reach maybe the bracket challenge expanded your audience. So you're getting different responses. There you go. It's a broader sample size.
So then I'm not surprised then. There's one vote difference, like one mention, whatever difference between first place and second place on this. Second place, so this follows up well, Jim Aparo. Number 1, Norm Brayfogle.
See, you're educating people.
Have
like
spoken.
The more you talk about it, the more they're like, oh, I should check this out. Like, you know what? He's right. This Lauer fella, he's really got it figured out.
He's done a few things. So I think DC needs to get their act together and reprint these Norm Brayfogle collections, because the people will buy.
The Norm Brayfogle omnibus.
Yes. $400.
Okay.
Why not?
Done. I'll sell my car and buy the Norm Brayfogle omnibus. So
that's right. You should.
That has it. That'll do it. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for coming on. This is a fun discussion. I like to
I'm
count
glad
down
to be here.
Some fun artists. Yeah, and I think actually we have it on the schedule that you two are going to be coming back not too far either. Not too far.
Oh,
I can't speak.
Soon
you guys will be back individually.
Yes.
You can't do all three of us. That's too
Can't
powerful
wait.
for every episode. So
I mean, yeah, it'd be like if you're eating, dessert after every meal. You got
cereal
keep it
after
special.
cereal. Wait, that sounds okay. Yeah, there's a little preview. And we're not done talking about Neil Adams, are we, Justin?
No, I'm not going to let Garret see, though. Look at.
Oh, okay.
So sneaky.
I think Garret probably knows.
Oh, okay. Now
he
I
probably
know.
knows.
Yep, that's it.
Now he's
look at that. Don't say nothing. Don't leave,
Say nothing.
Leave the listeners in the dark, or at least half in the dark.
Yes.
Look at that. At least half of it. Look at it. Get it?
There
Get
you
it?
go. Yeah.
I get it.
Get
Terrifying.
Yeah.
it.
That actually looks like Garret. Look at there's Garret. Hey. Hey guys.
Go
Garret.
Twins. Justin,
Yes.
why don't you go ahead and plug away?
Let me plug away.
Plug
My
away.
name is Justin.
Yeah.
And I have an identity on the internet on Twitter, and you can follow me, Justin M. Kowalski on Twitter. I don't currently have a particular show you can listen to every week, but I am doing Batman shows for Batman on Film.
There you go.
I just haven't been able to do any lately, but the Batman on Film chapter by chapter, Batman 89 will be returning very soon. I just had to get over
Sweet.
the holiday, and we're coming back in black.
Batman
Yellow
Returns.
highlights. Yes. So
Yellow
not Batman Returns yet, but 89, Batman 89 will return.
Yeah.
Soon. There you go.
Love
and
it.
then, and then whatever Ryan has me do.
Yeah. Like when you come back on the Batman Book Club.
The Batman got black, and then I'm on JJ Hodges' show in the summer. I don't even know when it's coming out. So
So there you go. You follow that. Yeah. Did you say your Twitter? Your Instagram?
Yeah, Justin M. Kowalski. Twitter.
Okay. So
Find
make
it.
sure. Send the people your way.
Find
with
it,
their
follow.
their complaints. With their complaints. Tara Colesman. Anyways, Garret, plug away, my friend.
Guys, I sure enjoyed this conversation.
Here we go. Yeah.
And as I like to say, I like to keep the conversation going. Best place you can do that is to find me over at Twitter. You can find me at Garret Wato. That's at GarretWato. Otherwise, I've got some things up over at BatmanOnFilm.com, comic reviews, host the podcast over there with some, less than frequent episodes, but I got some thoughts coming up here. So you can always tune in along with that feed with all the other shows going on at Batman on Film. And every once in a while I get to hear my voice too. But thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, he'll be returning back as well with a fun, I don't think it's a deep cut, but it's an original choice. I like that. I'm excited for us to
maybe more original than the choices I came with today.
Maybe. Maybe so. If you want to follow the Batman Book Club, you can do that on Twitter and Instagram at the Batman BC for latest episode drops, upcoming episodes, sometimes some giveaways. Make sure to subscribe to the Batman Book Club YouTube channel, where Pete and I are going to get back to reviewing Road to No Man's Land. We're going to keep making our way through that. If you want to support the show, there's a variety of ways you can do that. Like I said at the top of the show, you can join the two newest patrons on patreon.com/thebatmanbc. You can go to tpublic.com where you can support the show with merchandise that has the Batman Book Club logo splattered all over it. Beautifully created by one Sir Justin Kowalski, a true hero. And lastly, if you want to support the show, you don't want to spend any money at all, it's 100% A-OK. The easiest, quickest, and most impactful thing you can do is rate and review the show on whatever podcast platform you listen to it on. So Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever. Just go to the rate and review page and rate and review the show, because the more reviews it gets, the more it helps spread the word. And as we all know, the word is
Panic.
That's right. So for Garret, Grev, and Justin Kowalski, I am Ryan Lauer. And until next time, read my Batman comics.